I know at work I used to get the comment like, "You're never angry. You're always like really positive." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's really hard to make me mad." So we just like roll with it.
Hey everybody, I'm Dave Taylor with Real Broker, and today I have Lydia with me.
Hi, I'm Lydia with App Properties. I am from Sparta, Wisconsin. My family is military. Both my mom and my dad were in the military. It led us to many different states. By the time I was 16 years old, I was in 17 different homes. A lot of moving around, and my parents were always looking for a good flip. We'd move into some home that needed a lot of work.
Okay.
We'd renovate it for the year or 2 years that we were there.
While you were living there.
Yeah, while we were living there. And then by the time it was finally done and pretty, we moved to the next one. Sometimes it was a lot quicker. Sometimes we were at places as little as 6 months. I have 7 siblings, so that was kind of our built-in friends.
Yep. So you said both of your parents were military?
Yeah,
Which branch?
they're both Army.
Oh, nice.
My mom's a nurse now. She's always taught us how to dress and how to present ourselves, and I'm very appreciative of that. She was an airborne nurse, so she would jump into active installations and set up medical units.
Wow.
So she's kind of a badass.
That is really cool. It's not often, and I know I do this too, we don't actually think of our parents as having lives before having kids, let alone doing things like jumping into war zones or active spaces. That is crazy.
And then my father, he was special forces. So very intense people came together, and that's probably where I got a lot of my tenacity and drive. Give a lot of credit to them, and all glory to God. They've definitely shaped me. Them and the church has shaped me into who I am today.
That's cool. I'm going to actually dig a little bit deeper on that. So would you say that growing up flipping homes is kind of what led you into becoming a realtor then?
Yeah, I was always interested in real estate. I loved looking at homes. Every time my parents were house hunting, I was always in there with them. I was clicking through the pictures, learning about different neighborhoods. I always found it interesting what Zillow and Realtor and all those applications would point out about the schools and their ratings. So I grew up looking at all of that, but never thought I would be in real estate. I went to school for animal science, and then I switched to business. Last minute, COVID happened, and I was like, get me out of here. I want to be done. That was how I would be able to do that. I got a fantastic job, but I was supplementing it with bartending at the waterfront.
Okay.
I loved it there. Loved the waterfront. One of my favorite places still. I'm here local in La Crosse.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do something as a side hustle that I could possibly make a little more money, have a little more fun. Because what it was turning into was everybody's really into, they would read about bourbon, they would read about wine, and I was like, I don't want to read about it all the time.
Fair enough.
Then I was like, I'm just going to try it. The classes, see if I like it.
Yeah.
Well, the classes aren't fun, like anybody would tell you that. They're not fun. But
they are death by PowerPoint.
Yes. And after that, getting into the process and like figuring that portion of it out, I just like grabbed it and ran with it. I really, really loved it. I got hooked up with a local brokerage, Cooley Real Estate. They helped me a lot. They got me my start. My mentor was Tara Campbell. So a lot of people have probably worked with her. She's awesome. She was actually my landlord when I was also going through this. So she played a part in that too. And so that's what got the start. Just a love for real estate, all things real estate, talking about it. I'm always watching podcasts, reading books about it. It becomes kind of an obsession. Then I jumped into property management too. That came from a different place when I went to school for a little while before COVID happened. Our landlord or management was not the greatest. So I was like, how can I help these kids not be taken advantage? You know, they're kids. They need to learn, but they also need to know their rights and not be taken advantage of, because that's what happens a lot of the time. I built that business up, and I now manage about 60 properties. My phone's going off the hook sometimes, but it's fun. I enjoy it.
So we became a realtor and then also became a property manager. Is there more that we're going to add to that list?
So I'm starting that. Me and my sister own a cabin right now. We just bought that. It was a little tiny cabin on a couple acres, and we're flipping it, but we're doing it as we have the funds. And then I'm buying my first investment property. I close on that January 10th.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Exciting.
So it's awesome property. I've been managing it for a few years. So I know the tenants well, them. And I'll be able to do it without, you know, changing their rent. So that was what was important to me, that I wouldn't come in and disturb somebody's life.
Yeah.
So it was a great opportunity. And I just been so blessed and favored. I just feel a lot of favor, situations. And again, I just give that glory back to God. And I thank him for it every day.
That's cool.
Mhm.
As a real estate investor, one of the things everybody always wants to know is how do you find properties?
Mhm.
And you found one by being property manager
Yeah.
and offering a good service
Mhm.
so that when that owner was ready to make the move, they came to you first.
Yep. Yeah.
That's cool.
By being somebody that's trusted and loyal to a lot of these people, that's who they come to first. When you have shown them that you're loyal, when you've shown them that you are a person of integrity,
Yeah.
they're going to come to you. They're going to ask you, okay, what can I get for this? They know you're not going to say, oh, it's only worth this much.
Yeah.
So that you get a good deal on it.
Yep.
You're going to tell them what it's worth. A lot of times they're going to tell you, well, can we work something out? We're not going to charge you that because you have that relationship.
Yeah.
And because you've provided them a good service.
I'll be curious to see over the next few years more investment properties pop up because of those relationships that you've built as a property manager. There is a need for good property management up and down the river, from Sparta to La Crosse to Winona, all the way up towards Pepin.
Yeah.
There is a need for good property management.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I own 3 properties, total of 7 units. And I really appreciated that you mentioned you didn't want to increase the rates for your current tenants. And that's something that we've really made a point of not doing, especially during COVID. As we come out of COVID, we're still seeing price hikes going up, and we're actively going, nope, we're good. We don't need to just price gouge. That's something that feels abnormal, but I wonder if it's just not the thing that gets a lot of attention. Those subtle landlords that are helping by not constantly going after that higher rate.
That's something that's very important to me, being very people focused. I think that's easy to lose sight of when money gets involved. A lot of people, it's all that matters. And we're dealing with people, and we have to have this heart for people and this mind for people, especially in our local communities.
Yeah.
When I'm talking with somebody who's interested in property management, I honestly have a lot of properties that I manage. I'm not looking to just spike my portfolio. I want to work with people who are going to take care of people.
Cool.
If I'm going to fight you tooth and nail to fix things that need to make their quality of life, the relationship's not going to work for me.
You have that line of integrity that you hold your clients, the owners, the landlords, to that higher standard. That's nice.
And there has been instances where it's like, okay, we need to sit down, we need to talk about this because this isn't something that I can let stand. My husband is a big proponent of that. He has the biggest heart for people. And I'll just talk to him about situations, and he's like, that's not right.
Yeah.
Like, you can't let that, even if it's not illegal,
Right.
doesn't mean that it's not. It's how you should treat someone and allow something to happen.
Can you give an example without going into too specifics?
Like an example of not treating somebody correctly?
Or tenants?
There's always things that happen that could be the fault of the tenant. They could be just wear and tear and age. And a lot of times we just need to get in, we need to fix the item. Whose fault it is, unless it's blatantly obvious that something was done to like destroy something, that's the cost of doing business.
Yep.
If your stovetop goes out or something breaks on your stovetop, you don't need to charge a person to get a new stovetop put in so they can cook their family dinner. That's the cost of doing business when the range is 10 years old.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
Situations like that, or, having windows that may be cracked or something may have happened. I had a situation of a bird flew into a window and it cracked it.
Oh.
And
nobody's fault on that
right,
one.
Right.
Yep.
It's not. And then the question was, well, is there any way that can be charged to the tenant?
Yeah, which seems like such an obnoxious question. It'd be different if a kid's baseball went through the window. Okay, maybe we look at splitting that cost somewhat, but no. Act of God, essentially.
And that's where, and it becomes cynical too. Like, do you believe that it was a bird or whatever? And that's a whole different situation. And I think people become cynical and then they want to blame everybody else.
Yeah.
I digress.
I appreciate you saying that. I know that when I was working in corporate, I had directors over me, and that constant scrutiny. What's going wrong is your fault, the employee. You go into that blame game rather than solving the problem and moving on, right? As stressful as it is to make repairs, it is more stressful for that person living there who has no control over that.
Right.
This year we had 2 fridges at 2 different properties go out, which sucks for us, but that's just money to us. It is an actual living thing
Yep.
to those people who no longer have a fridge. And even the delay of ordering it, getting it shipped, getting it delivered, getting the old one out of there, that is a much larger stress to those tenants rather than what it is to us. As a landlord or a real estate investor, it is something that you have to keep in mind, like keeping people in mind.
Just because you can find something cheaper, like maybe you can order a refrigerator that's a few $100s cheaper, going down to Home Depot and finding one that costs you $100 more, but you're going to be able to put it in that day is worth it.
Yep.
To take care of your people. Happy tenants, they stay, they take care of their house, they take pride in their homes.
Yep.
So they take care of your home, their home. It's full circle, right? It's how you treat people, and goes back to kind of that golden rule.
Yeah.
Treat people how you want to be treated.
We have one tenant we've owned the building 5 years, but he's lived there a total of 20 years now. Why we make any ways for that? Just keep it simple for him. For those people that are interested in getting started in property management, what would you recommend to at least start going down that path?
I would recommend getting your real estate license if you want to do property management.
Okay.
It's not a requirement, but it does help you know the laws a little better. You can also negotiate on behalf of the landlord. They can give you a little more autonomy.
Okay.
And kind of like handing you over the rentals, meaning like, take them, do with them what you think is best. And then you get access to all the forms, the Wisconsin approved lease, the lease agreement.
Versus just going to Google and trying to find something that works.
Exactly. Yep. Just following the laws. It's such a touchy subject. You can get yourself into a lot of trouble if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Understanding the laws, you probably should spend the money, or at least to understand what's going on. Just put yourself out there. Start with a few properties, maybe like a fourplex or something like that.
Yep.
They can be a lot of work, especially depending on the people.
So get your license, start small,
Yep.
and then just keep working through that process.
Try to make a work-life balance. At first, you're going to want to be there. You're going to want to be fixing everything yourself. You're going to want to be making like your landlord happy, which you will. You will be making them happy no matter what, if you're doing your job with, integrity, honesty, to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
But you don't need to be there every day trying to figure stuff out. That was me. My first year, I'd be on YouTube. I'm like, I can fix this. So tinkering with, exactly. Yeah. Just save your sanity and kind of figure out where your lines are and make that understanding clear with the manager, owners you're working with.
And real estate investment is very similar. When I talk to people interested in real estate investing, they have one of those two extreme mentalities very often of like, I'm going to be absolutely hands off making boatloads of money. Or I'm going to be way into the weeds, fixing everything myself and saving a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And really, everybody can choose their own path, but there's a nice path right down the middle where it's not a ton of hours. You do still get a life balance while also not costing you tons and tons of money because you're hiring somebody all the time on door, which then leads to...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about real estate investing, yes, you want to do real estate investing. You've got your first property coming here, but do you have kind of a long-term plan of where you want to go with that?
I don't want to get into multifamily properties, like a lot of multifamily properties. Getting the experience of being a property manager was awesome because it kind of showed me that, just the difference.
Yeah.
And the return on investment is fine. I'm sure there's more money to be made when you get into bigger ones, but I wouldn't want to be a part of that myself. I like the single family homes. I enjoy them more. I enjoy like the process of checking them, fixing them up. When you're in a multifamily situation, and that's not something I want to do. My long-term goal is just to have a few homes, maybe a few duplexes, but nothing larger than that. I don't want to overload myself, and I don't want to have 100 doors. I know a few people with 100 doors, and I just don't want to do that.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. So my wife and I became a realtor because we knew that we wanted to invest in real estate property, right? And much like with the property management piece, there is a strong recommendation that if you're going to invest in properties, you should get your real estate license. So my wife and I looked at each other and went, yeah, go do it. I got into it. Absolutely love being a realtor. I've been doing it for over 5 years. I really enjoy it. But when we first were looking at and mapping out how to retire early with real estate investing, The most common suggestion is 100 doors or a
Yeah.
ton of doors.
Yeah.
One of the things we found interesting was even at 3 properties, 7 units,
Mhm.
right? We're okay with the amount of work that we're putting in per month
Mhm.
and the calls, things that happen. But if we want to get to, and our goal wasn't 100 doors, it was actually 40 doors to hit our monthly goal and budget that we were aiming
Okay.
for. Okay, so we're at 7, we want to get to 4, and we have 8 times or 6 times the amount of work that we're doing here. Do we want that? And we're
Mhm.
going, no, we don't want that. Okay, so what actually makes more sense? It was actually this summer when I was actually sitting down with my kids and doing a budget plan. We looked at it and realized the gross amount that we were making, if we paid off those mortgages, we're actually already hitting what we need to
Mhm.
retire early.
So we just need to pay them off.
And so that has been our mental switch
There you
of
go.
like, okay, we don't need 40. We only need the 7 that we have, maybe one more
Mhm.
somewhere in a location that we'd be excited about, but pay these off
Mhm.
and we can retire at 40, 45, even 50. We're good. And that has also kind of shifted the mentality, but removed a ton of stress,
Right.
right?
Right. Trying
Of
to like constantly grind and grab and like, where's the next deal going to come from? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big discussion that my wife and I had to have of like, okay, I was constantly looking for the next one and she's going, no, 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 like,
Mhm.
wait a second. That shift of, hey, we don't need all of those, been
Mhm.
a huge relief. Lydia, as we're talking here about property management and real estate investing, those actually lead into being a stronger realtor because, as you know, with property management and such, it really matters who you can call
Yeah.
at those last minutes. And that's very big during the purchasing process when
Mhm.
you're working with a home buyer and all of a sudden the home inspector or the appraiser comes back and they're like, you got
Yeah.
stuff to do. Who are some of your partners that you team up with often?
Yeah. I have a whole group of people. A lot of them actually are related to me.
That's always
So
easy.
yeah, it is easy. And I think it's funny. I saw something the other day. It was some realtor talking about how real estate's always so glamorous. She was like, yesterday I was going through an attic, scared I was going to get a rabies shot. So we all get in the weeds and try to help with what we can. My dad was a licensed contractor. He did contracting with my mom. She's actually the one who's still licensed, ironically. My brother-in-law does it, and now my little brother just turned 18, and he's starting to become quite the handyman.
Nice.
So all three of them help me. So anything that there's like something small, like they're not doing major contract repairs for me, but something small like, okay, we need to install fire alarms, we need to install handrails.
Yep.
This step is loose, it needs to be fixed. Like those little things that are tedious and somebody may not know how to do,
Yep.
but the sale may not go through because of a little item like that.
Yeah.
He's in there in a day, out
Yeah.
in a few hours. You know, we can have it done prior to that VA inspection coming through, that USDA home appraisal coming through,
Yeah.
so that we know it's ready. We know we're not going to have any speed bumps coming along the road.
Yep.
And a lot of times when those things pop up, everybody freaks out and it's like, no worries, guys. We got contacts. We got people who can take care of us.
Yeah.
Along with that, Sure Plumbing out of Sparta, Carl Sure. I love Carl. Carl worked with my dad when he was contracting a lot too. He's kind of like another dad. He's awesome to talk to. We're always chatting, but he's always quick to get stuff done. He has good prices. He just beats everybody else out. And he's a great person to have on your roster and to work with. So I really enjoy working with him. Electricians are so hard to get a hold of.
Yeah. And the timing, because they're usually backed up.
Mm-hmm.
I have a handful of electricians just in case on those things.
I don't know if I want to say my electrician's name out loud, but I have somebody for
Good.
those situations so that we can work through it and get the deal moving. It's so important and it needed to keep things moving forward. In a lot of situations, when we're at a standstill, like maybe the seller doesn't want to do something and the buyer's like, well, I'm not moving forward if we don't do this.
Yep.
When you have those connections and you can get it done at a good price, you're like, guys, I took care of it.
Yeah.
It's not a
already
big
done.
deal. It's done. Let's keep moving forward.
As a realtor, anything we can do to make the process easier and less
Mhm.
stressful for everybody
Yep.
is big. I absolutely love when I'm working across the table from another realtor who has that mentality of let's solve this
Mhm.
rather than whose fault is this. It is such a critical skill to
Mhm.
be able to have that mentality of let's fix this.
Yeah.
Last week, I was actually chipping paint, scraping it off and getting ready to paint. And so like me and the buyer are out there making sure. And one of the things as a realtor that we can do to make things easier is knowing what those problems are going to be, right? The different types of financing that you mentioned, FHA, VA, USDA, they hit on the same three things every time.
Yep.
Great, we know that.
Right.
So let's go in and solve those before the appraisal happens, which then ends up saving your buyer money because they don't have to pay for a reappraisal,
Right.
which is always frustrating and annoying. And so, yeah, we can work together to solve these things.
And that's where it comes into being so important who you choose.
Yep.
Because not only before the appraisal, before we list the house, what can we fix so we can open ourselves up to a larger buyer pool?
Yeah.
Because there could be items that if you don't get them taken care of beforehand, it's going to be such a project in the process that they're not even going to come and check it out. They're not even going to come and because their lender's just going to say no. Understanding the potential buyers, what the appraisals are, what those different types of loans entail, what issues could possibly come up. When I graduated from college, I worked for a company that does enterprise risk management.
Okay.
So that's what I joke now is like, I'm still doing enterprise risk management. I'm doing risk management for my clients all the time.
Yep.
See a risk. How can we mitigate it? Make sure that's not happening. But yeah, all those things are important and they're important questions to ask.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy, like we were just talking about, it's very easy to get a license.
On the scale of starting a business, it is very low entry point. Yeah.
Yep. And so a lot of people can have a license, but it's important to interview and find the best fit for a realtor for yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Even when I'm talking with somebody about listing their home or the first time I'm interacting with a home buyer, I will almost always recommend, hey, I shouldn't be the only one that you talk to. You should go talk to somebody else.
Right.
Yeah, I might lose you as a client, but I want you to know that this is the other side of what you could be dealing with.
Yeah.
And you should trust your realtor, whoever you decide.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And trust in their ability, trust in their negotiation skills.
Yep.
Because looking for houses on Zillow opening doors, that's like 1% of it. That's this
It's a
teeny
very,
tiny
very small part.
right.
Yeah.
And then if you're looking in a specific neighborhood, finding somebody who knows the beat, has their ear to the ground in that neighborhood is so important. You kind of have to scale it for what you're looking for, what your goals are. Do you want somebody who's just going to find you the best deal? Do you want somebody who's going to find you something that's maybe not on the market yet?
Yep.
That's where it all comes into play, right? There's been a lot of situations where I've worked with several realtors over and over again because they always have buyers and I'll always have listings coming up. We'll just talk and then have people lined up ready to go. By the time that listing hits the market, it's like, boom, gone.
I'm always shocked at there's this at times feel of like real estate can be a cutthroat business. And I disagree with that so much because I've had such great work friendships with a ton of realtors at different brokerages, at my brokerage. We don't have to be competing. We are literally working together to get to the same spot. Let's work together. It always blows my mind.
I always say there's enough work. There's enough people. I don't think anybody's going to run out of work. I'm competitive, and that's probably part of the reason I got into this. I'm incredibly competitive, but that's the fun part of it, right? Being competitive, but also being charismatic and having those kind of characteristics that people, you want to hang out with people and you want to talk with people. And so not even always the sale, but getting to know different people in your community. Yeah. That's a fun part of it.
Yep.
So I enjoy all of that.
I'll piggyback on that. One of my favorite things about real estate that was completely unexpected to me was the stories I get to hear from people. One of my favorites is I was working with a couple that lived in a historical home on Cass Street. It's pre-Civil War. I go into the house and it's a gorgeous house. She took me from room to room and was sharing all of these amazing stories like, these light bulbs are from blah, blah, blah. These handcrafted pieces are from such and such. And I absolutely geeked out for a solid 2 hours, which normally is a very long listing meeting. It was amazing. I could go on and on about this one particular house, but we get to have those experiences dozens of times a year. I love it. It's a lot of fun.
Well, and on the other side of it, you get to be an outside ear for somebody who might be going through something horrific, something they never thought they'd be experiencing. And you can get to come and be this voice of compassion and also this like shoulder to cry on, just like this kind of rock of like, okay, I know it's hard right now, but we're going to get through it. We're going to get this part done. So you don't have to worry about it. Just put it all on me. I'm going to take care of it. We're going to get it done. Just one thing I can take off your plate as you're going through this, you know? It's so many different facets of it. And in the human experience, I think it just kind of like you just get to drop right in the middle of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of jobs out there that have a lot of hats that you wear. Teaches you the law and the paperwork, but then there is a lot more to this job.
Well, and it's funny, kind of taking a segue off of that, sales, like it's a sales job, but it's not. And the reason I say that is, yes, we are selling, but we're not like hitting quotas. We're not like pushing someone into it. Somebody wants to buy a house, they're going to buy a house.
Yes.
And we're just there to help. We're there to facilitate.
Yep.
We're there to negotiate. We're there to like, you know, be all those things that we talked about.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're not pushing them to do anything because we don't have to. That's the part I really like about it, especially when I'm with brand new buyers or baby buyers. Like they don't know anything about the process.
Well, even somebody who did it 10, 20 years ago.
Right. And you're walking in and they have these big eyes and they're like looking around like, and then you're like, hey, look at that.
Yep.
Make sure you notice that. Make sure you notice not all the just have big wide eyes. Like all your dreams are coming true. There's things that you're going to get in here and going to like, oh crap. So then, you know, you're not a downer. You're just like, rein it in. This is, you know, we're still dealing with a big investment here.
Well, on the flip side, we'll have clients that are like that and we have to help them rein it in. And on the flip side, we'll have clients that are like, oh my God, this one light bulb is out. I don't want to buy this house. And you're like, okay, come on.
Right.
We can get a light bulb and fix this. I wish I was exaggerating on the light bulb comment. I've had that. We have to play both sides to help people help themselves.
Yeah.
I'm such a big believer that people should own a home, right? Do I think everybody needs to own a home? No, everybody's situation is different. But if your situation is set up in a good place for you to own a home, you should own a home. Yeah. It is a huge investment that will pay off dividends over years and years. And when we talk to people about looking at retirement, I don't care if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s, at some point, I'm sure you're going to want to retire. Owning a home is sometimes 25 to 50% of that retirement.
Yep.
And so like, get in.
Yeah.
Get in.
Yeah. And there's so many options to make that happen.
Yeah.
And getting in with the right real estate agent can be like, we're either buying a home or we're not buying a home. Like they can be the person that decides that, not decides it, but you know what I'm saying? Like negotiates it.
Big factor.
Buyer credits, figuring out how to word it and how to present it to the seller in a way that's going to make them not go, oh, what are we doing? Why are we giving the money back?
Yep.
No, presenting in a way that makes sense, presenting in a way that's going to benefit your buyer so that they don't have to save up for 10 years to be able to purchase a home. They can purchase a home now.
Yep.
And then also connecting them with the right mortgage lenders, right?
Yeah.
So that these dreams can become a reality.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my biggest feel-good moments of 2024 was I had a seller who had to sell to move. They needed to move. They were changing jobs, had to do it in short term, right? They had a duplex that they were looking to sell, and a duplex has tenants in both sides of it. We walked in and there was a tenant there who, in the 2 seconds that I was talking to her, was smart, had like a good head on her shoulders, like made sense that like, hey, do you think you would want to own this if you could? And she looked at me and was like, there's no way I can own, I probably won't be able to ever own a home. And I said, I understand, but can you give me 5 minutes, a pen and paper, and let's see if the numbers work, right? And I walked her through doing a FHA, 3.5% down, using the other tenant's income, up to 75% of it, to go towards your income that's coming in, and then asking for seller concessions to help with the down payment. And I was, this is where you need to be. And she goes, let me call my folks. We put her in touch with a lender. 2 days later, she submitted an offer. A month and a half later, she closed on it, and she now owns a duplex that she never thought she would be able to own.
Wow.
I love being able to walk people through those numbers of like, you don't need to have 20% down. You don't need to have 20% down and the 3% closing costs. There are things that we can work through to help you get there. You just got to give us a chance.
And that's something that's so exciting. I'm seeing more and more younger and younger buyers coming.
Yeah.
My husband owns a railroad contracting business.
Oh, cool.
And the majority of his men are like 18 to 20 years old. They're young because they travel all week. They're not married. They make great money.
Yeah.
And they tend to stay with the job for a while.
Yep.
They all have friends that are blue collar and they all work really hard. I've helped, I think, 3 of them so far purchase their own home.
That's cool.
And it is so cool because there's all this narrative of, oh, we'll never be able to buy a home in like kind of my generation.
Yeah.
And that's just not the case. It's not. And there's so many things out there.
Yeah.
If you just, open up the dialogue,
Yeah.
you can learn about it, and there's stuff out there to make it happen.
Well, and there's the feel, and then there's the actual reality of the situation, right? So often we will limit ourselves and our abilities because we feel like we can't achieve that.
Yep.
Not playing the blame game on where those feelings are coming from, but we have to recognize that they exist. But we also have to recognize that those aren't necessarily reality. Sometimes they are, but not always. They're essential to be able to own a property. I will reinforce that statement here locally. La Crosse, West Salem, Sparta, Onalaska, all the way up and down the river. This isn't the same as dealing with some spots in New York or California where the starting home is $500,000. You can get a good starting home here at 150, 175, 200,000.
Yep.
To be able to move into a $200,000 home, we're only looking at $7K. Yes, I recognize that it's a little uppity of me to say it's only $7K.
Yeah.
Really, $7K is achievable
Right.
with 1 to 2 years for almost anyone. Does it take work? Yes. But is it achievable? Yes. I love being able to help people be able to own.
And looking in these rural communities, it can be even less than that. Looking at USDA loans, that's a 0% down loan.
Yep.
You can ask for a credit back at closing to cover your closing costs.
Yep.
We're talking $1,000 to $2,000 to close on a home.
I actually had buyers get an $800 check when they bought the house.
Wow.
Not for everybody, not every situation, but just like you said, low down payment, cashback or seller concessions, it's possible. My biggest message for people interested in buying a home is it is possible. And yes, we're focused on first-time home buyers, but this also is for home sellers.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm afraid to put my home on the market because I don't know where I can go. Okay, great. Let's have that conversation. If that's the fear, let's go look for what you're looking for.
Right.
I guarantee you, most likely it exists.
Yep.
Okay. We just got to try.
Yeah. And even moving locally from West Salem to Onalaska to La Crosse, this whole community is growing and expanding, and it's very exciting. But even those little moves can be game changers for sellers and put you in a different position in life, kind of open up different opportunities to you. So yeah, it's all very exciting. This doesn't have to be, sometimes people think, well, I don't want to talk to them until I'm at this point.
Yes.
We have a conversation now. You call me back 2 years from now, we talk about it, we look at it, we make a plan. And if that's not the right time, we'll have another conversation. 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road.
I'm not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. We're here.
And if you have questions along the way, that's great too.
I had a home seller that I'm working with now. We've talked 2 texts this week and then a handful of texts 2 months ago. I met him and his family maybe 6 months ago at the very beginning of 2024. It's not, I'm always in your pocket. I'm always calling you. I'm sending you an email 7 times a week. None of that. It's very relaxed and we take it at your pace and that works.
Yeah, definitely. It's not linear at all. There's so many different facets to it. And I think that's my favorite thing. You were talking about wearing different hats. I don't think I've had the same day twice ever in this job. And I love that. And learning more about it. I just had the funnest transaction of my life dealing with title.
Okay.
So
problem fun or exciting fun? Okay.
Fun. Dealing with title.
Talk about putting a silver lining on it.
It was a learning experience.
There it is.
So,
yes.
And in the future, I now have a direct action plan of how we would approach this.
I love that.
It closed a couple weeks after we were wanting it to close. Still closed. Everybody got what they wanted. It was something I'd never experienced before. Liens against title are very interesting. It was a learning experience, and that's what I'll say about it.
I love the fact that you focus on the fact that it's a learning experience, right? Very often it is easy to complain about our job and all of the hardships and not grow from that,
Yeah.
not find a solution so it doesn't happen again.
Mm-hmm.
I love being able to make it easy and stress free.
Yep.
By putting in place processes for when this happens. And we talked about having those resources of having a plumber, having an electrician, having a contractor. I learned how to drill cement this year.
Nice.
Now I know that if this pops up again and I need to put a railing in, I know how to do it. Constantly be learning,
Mm-hmm.
wearing those multiple hats, but also, changing it so that you are growing and helping people,
Right.
not causing more problems.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important to have the mentality of never saying that's not my job.
Yep. Don't
That,
get me started.
yeah, that will mind boggle me to the end of time when
Yep.
I hear that come out of somebody's mouth. We're all here for the same goal.
Yeah.
If it entails getting to that goal, then it's your job. And I love that. I
Yeah.
love getting to wear all these different hats and tackle different things. Even things like calling an electrical company when they don't understand
Yeah.
how to get this changed over.
Yep.
And being a little bit helpful. Like you said, making it stress-free. Just a little bit more helpful. Something you've done 100 times,
Yep.
1,000 times. So you know the process and they maybe haven't done it.
And along those same lines of how do we communicate better as realtors,
Mhm.
and the fact that we know that the same questions always pop up,
Mhm.
right? How old is the roof? Why are people moving? What are the costs of the utilities? When we're listing it,
Mhm.
we can get that information
Yeah.
and then just provide it. It doesn't have to be a secret that somebody's going to
Right.
ask you 3 weeks
Right.
into the process, right? Let's make it easier for everybody.
That's why I love those history of properties. Those are my favorite cheats.
Yep.
A lot of times I'll just print that out for a showing and that'll be like the main one. This is the one that matters the most. This is going to answer most all of our questions. Here we go.
Fun fact, as we're going into this next year, I am building a 1-page template that includes those
Okay.
to make it a little bit cleaner, nicer, and prettier.
Mhm.
I like things being pretty.
Yeah.
Because that is always a question that everybody asks,
Mhm.
right? And if I can make you, the realtor, look better when you're bringing your buyer through,
Mhm.
great. It's more likely that they're going to buy.
Right.
If you, the realtor, have to get answers afterwards, we're already starting to lose the buyer. Lydia, let's drop back a little bit here. Do you remember your first deal?
Yeah. Yeah. So my first deal, well, I started real estate in about March of 2022.
Okay.
My first deal closed June 6th of 2022.
So that's pretty quick.
Yeah, it was pretty quick. And how that happened was I was working at a smaller agency.
Okay.
And every day I would sit at their front desk and wait for the phone to ring. And that was kind of like my plan. That was how I was going to get all my buyers and sellers. I had a work from home job. So I just had my little laptop. I'd like have my headset on. I'd be set up there just waiting for someone to walk in. One day the phone rings. It's a military family.
Cool.
And they're selling their home. They're moving out of the area. And I'm like, hey, I'm Lydia. I am brand new. Do you want someone to come with me and walk me through my first transaction? They're like, that's fine. Let's do that. So I go and I meet with them. Very calm, very laid back. I'm a Christian. And to me, it was very important that I would give whatever I got first back to God. I just wanted to give that away. That was something I had made up in my heart, that whatever I got on this first transaction, no matter how
100%.
Yep, I was just going to give it away. I was going to give it away. It was going to go for the advancement of the kingdom.
Yep.
And yeah, it was awesome. But I was so broke. I had like no money. And so I get this call. We're there. We're meeting with them. I'm like, okay, this is my first transaction.
Yep.
I'm going to do it for 4.5% because I've never done this before.
Yep.
So you guys will save some money, but you also give me a chance. And they go, what do they normally charge?
Yeah.
And I was like, 6%? He goes,
Yeah.
we'll pay 6.
Yep.
All right. Cool. Cool. So we go through everything that closed. I got a check. It was for more money than I had seen in a long time. And then I gave that check away. Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
As soon as much as I got that check, I wrote a check, that amount
Yep.
back. And it was an awesome testimony. It was great for me to be able to give that away, right? Because I wasn't going to I was going to miss it,
Yep.
but I wasn't going to fail or anything because of that.
Yeah.
It got to go towards a great ministry that takes care of people and children, seen their orphanages and everything like that. So
That's
just
cool.
a great place. I don't want to get emotional about it, but yeah.
There's just
so,
cameras recording every moment of you
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
listened.
I made that commitment of
Yeah.
You know, I'm blessed to be a blessing. And that's always been my mantra. God's given me this, so I can give other people this.
Yeah.
And not only monetarily,
Yeah.
but my time, my effort, my morals, how I handle things, how I handle situations, my integrity.
Yeah.
All that stems from that for me because it's so core to my values.
Yeah.
And so that was my first transaction, and it was awesome. And ever since then, it's just like taken off, and it's been a ride.
That's
And
cool. It's one of the things that we don't really talk about publicly very often.
mhm,
But real estate checks, when you sell a home, especially when you're brand new as a
mhm,
realtor, can be daunting how
mhm,
large those checks are.
mhm.
Because if you're used to working an hourly job and you get paid every other week,
Yeah.
we're talking a few hundred at a time, right?
Mhm.
And then
But
all
it
of a
adds
sudden,
up. Yeah.
it does. But
Mhm,
then all of a sudden you get a $5,000, $6,000,
mhm.
$10,000 check. One of the things not taught in the license courses, but very key for your business, is how you set up your business
Yep.
so that as that check comes in, you're also not writing out checks completely on the
Yep.
other side. Now, donating it is fantastic. Absolutely understood on that. But when we look at structuring the business, a certain portion should be set aside for
Yep.
taxes. A certain
That's a big
portion,
one.
huge. A certain portion of it should be set aside to go to the home. A
Mhm,
certain portion of it should be set aside to invest.
mhm.
And then another piece to actually run the business.
Right.
Nowhere along my journey as a realtor did I ever have somebody sit down and tell me that.
Yep.
Again, YouTube University,
Mhm.
Tom Ferry, fantastic. One of the very first videos that I watched of him online was talking about this is how you should structure your business so that you can actually put money into the business and not just be spending it all the time.
I was just watching Tom Ferry this morning. That's so
Like
funny.
literally this
Yeah,
morning. Yeah.
literally this morning.
I love Tom Ferry. How to run the business of being a
Mhm.
realtor. I would say that he was probably 75 to 80% of my original journey.
Yeah.
I love his teachings, makes it very simple and
Mhm.
fun on a topic that isn't simple or fun.
When estimating that stuff can be so hard. Like I remember my first year, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to pay this much in taxes. And then I got that from my accountant and I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, so then, you pay it, you get through. The next year, I was like, okay, I'm gonna double it. I'm gonna be ready. No. So hopefully this year,
Yeah.
hopefully this year to be good.
I've had it where it's both extremes, where like I definitely didn't plan enough and it came back really big.
Mhm.
And then I've had it where I planned plenty and then it came back really tiny. And so it's always better to over
Yeah.
plan. Yeah. On that topic, do you know what your spread is of like, hey, this percent goes to this percent goes to this? So
Um,
I guess this is a geeky question. I have mine, which is why I'm asking.
I have what feels good to me.
Okay.
I have my percent for taxes, put
Yep.
that aside. I have my percent that goes to donations, the church. And
Cool.
then I have life
Yep.
and then fun
Yep.
and then investing.
Okay.
My investing has been the biggest portion right now because
Yeah.
I'm just trying to build that portfolio. I'm trying to be in that grinding season where I'm like, I want to really build
Yep.
for the next couple of years. My husband and I don't have any children yet,
Yeah.
but I'd like to have children at some point,
Yep.
and I want to be set up for that. So I can step back a little bit. I doubt that'll happen, but just to give myself the option.
Yep. I totally understand that. We've got 3 kids. They're all in their teenage years.
Mhm.
The little unexpected costs. They're
Mhm.
just shocking at times. I have mine set up that check comes in, 25% goes right to taxes to sit there. And then 25% ends up going towards investment and such.
Okay.
And then 20% goes towards the business.
Mhm.
And 30% goes towards the house. So every month I write a check to my wife for her to put into the accounts and run the house budget. That's where we've been for the last 2-3 years.
Mhm.
And it takes a lot of the stress of the ups and downs of real
Yeah.
estate,
Yeah.
right? Because, especially early on in your real estate career, or even 20 years into your real estate career, you can have slow periods where you literally have 2, 3, 4 months where you have no income coming
Yeah.
in. And then all of a sudden you got 1, 2, 3, 4 checks that come in all at the same time. You've got to find a way to kind of
Mhm.
standardize that or stabilize that a little bit.
That's funny when that happens because that happened to me this year, and it's been kind of steady,
Yeah.
like steady growth. I think I'm on transaction 36 or something like that this year.
That's good.
Well, the month of September, I didn't have anything close. I had like a group here and a group before. And so the end of September came and I was like, what? What's going on?
Yep.
But then
Yep.
I was like, oh, okay, just be patient. Wait a few more weeks.
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah, there can definitely be times where you're like, wait, And then if you use Rocket Mortgage or any of those fun apps, they're like, you should be getting a deposit of this much. And you're like, wouldn't that be nice?
That's not set up for the average
Right,
realtor.
right. That's trying to pick your rhythm.
There is no necessary
Mhm.
rhythm as a
Mhm.
realtor. And I will say one of the reasons that I started House Hike Real Estate Media, the photography side of it, was to help stabilize that, to at least
Yeah.
have some check coming in so that I could pay off the house or whatever I needed. Yeah, that was interesting the first few years of trying to figure out a path to that. It's not something that you get taught during the lessons or
Right.
the licensing process. And if you don't have a good mentor, digital or in person, you might struggle with that.
I think the biggest avenue for most realtors is repeat business or referrals. Your name and the way you present yourself, the way you handle yourself in your business is so important, because if you tarnish that and you don't treat somebody how they should have been treated, and you let your morals, you let your integrity kind of lack in any
Yep.
capacity, it sullies a relationship and that can spread, and you don't know how far that's going to spread until it's done.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's important to always be on your A game. You always be on, right?
Yep.
Be genuine, but be on.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting about being on. One of the things that I had a mentor kind of coach me in a few years back was kind of aligning that A game and on with just who your natural state is,
Yeah.
right? And there are definitely some people that you talk to that they are this person when they're not a realtor, and they're this person when they are a realtor. And one of the things that I've worked on over the last few years, and you can see it, I'm in jeans and a hoodie here having a good conversation with
Yeah.
you. This is how I show up for most showings too. Whether
Right.
we're looking at $1 million property or, a $100,000 property, this is who
Right.
I am. And it has helped a lot of that mental state kind of balance, right? You talked about your shirt that you're wearing now.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's your comfy shirt. This is who you like to feel and
Yeah.
be.
I have suits. Did I put on a suit? And I put it on. I was like,
Yep.
I'm not going to be able to sit there and feel normal. I have like pretty business casual kind of everyday wear. When I put this on, it's my favorite shirt. Anyone will tell you this is my favorite shirt. I wear it all the time.
Yeah.
And I've had it for 5 years. When it gives out, it's going to be a sad day. So I think that's an awesome point to make. Just being genuine, being yourself.
Yep.
And that helps stabilize your brand, right? Like you're always going to get the same thing. There's not ups and downs you're going to get. You're always going to get the same mentality. I know at work, I used to get the comment like, you're never angry. You're always like really positive. And I'm like, yeah, it's really hard to make me mad. So we just roll with it and it's fun. That's just kind of how I am. If you ask my little sisters, they might have a slightly different answer.
Family's different.
Right? No, but at work and in my personal life, I just try to be really positive and have that same display all the time.
Yeah, it's always interesting to me, almost a realtor meme nowadays, that the headshot photo versus what they look like in reality, and it's 20-year difference or whatever. And so, yeah, who you are in your headshots, who you are on camera, who you are showing up to the showing, if there's a difference there, that throws off people's trust and confidence, right?
Yeah.
Just be yourself. And that way you don't have to keep changing masks all the time.
I have a funny story about my headshot. On my business card is my headshot. Okay. It's a selfie I took in the office. I used AI to take the background off and brushed it a little bit so it looked like a headshot. I was just getting started and stuff. And I was
it's a lot when you get started.
The one I had before that, I had tacked a sheet to the wall and my friend had a camera and we were like doing it like that. So we made it work.
When I first got started in real estate, I had a horrible haircut. Absolutely horrible. And that was the photo that my brokerage at the time wanted to put on everything. I hadn't had that haircut for 5 years, yet it was on billboards, it was on the signs. They're like, but we put you out there. And I'm like, yeah, but I hate that photo. Like, so gross. And so, yeah, we all have those moments.
No, I have a similar story. I had really long hair when I first got my license. I've always been somebody who cuts it off once a year and then it just grows really fast.
Okay.
And I was getting married, so I let it grow like extra long because I was like, maybe I want to do an updo. That's when I took the headshot with the, background. And we did get some billboards done. And then I used them. That was my first version. That was my first ever business card. And I had business cards of those. I've had this client that I've been working with. I think we would work together for like 1.5 years because they bought a house. They sold like a couple houses. We were together for a long time. She was handing my business card out to somebody.
Okay.
And she goes, oh, don't worry. She cut her hair. She looks much prettier.
Thanks for the
And I was like,
positive.
thank you so much.
That's funny.
You know, but
I'm getting updated yard signs and everything and
uh-huh.
marketing and such. And I was having the debate with people on whether I should put my face on the yard signs or not.
Hmm.
Whenever I'm doing new marketing, I will always send it out to about a handful of people, 10 or so.
Hmm.
And most of the time, people will be like, 90% of them will be like, yeah, do this.
Hmm.
On the yard signs with my face, it was 50-50. Like, nobody can decide on if I should put my face on there. It was like, I don't know what this means.
If you had a
Like,
dog in,
yeah, there you
like,
go.
then it'll sway it,
Yep. Yep. Okay. Lydia, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming and hanging
Thank
out
you
with
for
me
having
today.
me.
If people wanted to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you? Phone number, social media?
Yes, you can text me, call me. All you have to do is search my name, Lydia Van Tassel. I should pop up on Facebook, Google, all that fun stuff. If for some reason I don't, my phone number is 608-609-0148.
Perfect.
Read through my reviews. Give me a call if you're looking to buy or sell.
Awesome. Thanks so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you.